Now to Roseanne and President Trump. Roseanne, as you obviously know by now, had her show canceled by ABC yesterday, and other cable companies pulled reruns of her original show, removing them from TV and online. Even Roseanne's agents have cut her loose. This after a series of controversial tweets, including the one where she compared former Obama aide Valerie Jarrett to the Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes. Roseanne, she apologized, but is still retweeting controversial messages, and she also blamed Ambien for the late-night tweet, and now all eyes are shifting from Roseanne to President Trump. Trump, he reacted today on Twitter, and he made it, well, as you'd expect, all about himself. Quote, Bob Iger of ABC called Valerie Jarrett to let her know that ABC does not tolerate comments like those made by Roseanne Barr. Gee, he never called President Trump to apologize for the horrible statements made and said about me on ABC. Maybe I just didn't get the call. His tweet, a little odd, at least in comparison to what Trump was saying in March about Roseanne, as he wore Roseanne's support very proudly like a human MAGA hat.
Even look at Roseanne. I called her yesterday. Look at her ratings. Look at her ratings. They were unbelievable. Over 18 million people. And it was about us.
I'm surprised you share some of the attention with others. That's Brilliant Senior Political Correspondent Andrew Whitman. Never do I want to be with him. But a lot of things were stunning. But I think if we're all honest, the audience and you and I at home, as soon as that, I mean, you couldn't have crafted a more racist tweet if you tried. Literally, you had to work at it to think, okay, I have an African-American woman, what do I do? I'll go with Planet of the Apes and Muslim Brotherhood, so I cover all the bases of offensiveness. So, of course, he gets fired. My instinct was, what's Trump going to say?
Right.
I mean, we saw in Charlottesville, he defended the white nationalists. He labeled all Mexicans that they were all rapists coming over the border. People from certain parts of the world that happen to be from Africa, that they were all, you know, from S-hole countries, and so many other things that'll take us too long to name.
Yeah.
I didn't think that he was going to be able to stay quiet, and I was more worried that my president was in some way, shape, or form going to take up for Roseanne Barr.
Yeah, I actually thought he was going to do that also, and I guess it could have only been one of two things. But given what he said about Charlottesville and how he came to the defense of his supporters in the crowd, it didn't seem inconceivable that he would do the same thing for Roseanne Barr. He didn't, which is actually a little bit surprising. And considering in that clip how he's talking about this is about us. He's including himself in the group
when she was
right.
The
watched
first
Roseanne.
episode did so well. Now, he did make it about himself. Which,
yeah.
Who does that, right? And by the way, conflating so many different things, but why let facts get in the way of a good story? But there was another part of this. At the event last night, where we were waiting for Trump to say something here, okay? He obviously talked about himself at length, but he also picked his favorite boogeyman, and that would be the media. And it got kind of ugly here. And in fact, media the public turned on the media physically and literally here, and look at some of the things that they're saying.
Can read what the guy is saying. This is to Jim Acosta at CNN. And we saw some of this during the campaign as well, where Trump would sort of inflame the ire of the crowd. And you get the press at an event like that, and they're in a bullpen area. It's a cordoned off section where it's just the press. So you're almost caged in to a certain degree. And before an event like this yesterday, this is obviously before the rally started, but all the media is in their pen, and so everybody can identify where they are. It really gives you an idea of the full froth that a lot of Trump supporters have towards the media. Now, Trump was trying to spin the Roseanne thing into a media bias. They also identified other people on ABC, including Keith Olbermann, who's been hired by Disney and just hired back for ESPN.
It's not ABC, it's by the parent company at ESPN. I'm not giving you, but the president lumped them all together. There was one other point. I saw a really disturbing tweet from a Times reporter who was at that same event. There was a 9 or a 10-year-old kid or something who's holding up this sign about to the reporters, fake news, we don't trust anything you say. And if there will be a legacy, and there'll be many, of this administration and this president, the distrust that he has created for all our institutions, whether they be the Justice Department and all the things within it, but also all the media who are reporting the facts, that to have that kid who's going to grow up believing that you can't trust anything anyone says if it's not the president, that's a scar that's going to be hard to heal.
It is, but I can't help but wonder if that kid wasn't going to grow up that way anyway. I mean, if Trump wasn't...
Have you ever seen the distrust in the media to the degree that you've seen in the last 20 months?
No, absolutely not. Yeah. But, and the Roseanne story speaks to this also, is that it puts everybody back in their teams as well, the Republican team and the Democratic team. And
well, we'll see. I mean, I played that clip here. You're starting to see certain Republicans with their own agendas, whatever, that are pushing back at lines of the president. And even Fox News said, you're making up stories out of whole cloth,
yes,
with Spygate and the rest. I know that there are outliers, Andrew, I grant you all that, but I'd like to think that there's certain lines, and we'll maybe find out from the U.S. Senate in the not-too-distant future that they won't cross.
Perhaps we'll see. But again, elected officials or candidates are only going to go as far as their supporters lead them, and as far as they think their supporters give them the room for. So if the Fox News crowd doesn't, abandon this president, you're not going to see elected officials or candidates.
And let's also give a historical context here, because this president is the first president who has faced, is not the first who has faced investigations, and the investigation of Trump and his efforts to disrupt it, leading into many comparisons to the last president that faced impeachment charges, and that was Bill Clinton. So how would Republicans or the American public have reacted? I want you to think about this, because it's 20 years to the day here since Bill Clinton testified in the Lewinsky affair. If Clinton had tried the same approach, Andrew, to what we've seen Trump do by literally trying to have the levers of justice be his personal ones and not for that of the country. As a reminder, Clinton's grand jury testimony, 20 years to the day. It came during an investigation into Whitewater, the failed Arkansas land deal. Then on top of that, the special prosecutor of that case, you remember him, Ken Starr, expanded the probe, which led to Clinton's personal life, and of course a name we all learned, Monica Lewinsky. The reports that Clinton engaged in sex acts with then interns, some even of those acts taking place in the Oval Office, it led to this now classic line of obfuscation from President Clinton.
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yes.
Now, Slick Willie, and he earned that moniker for a lot of reasons, but we've seen some reporting on this. I know you looked into this today. Just imagine if Bill Clinton had then Louis Freeh and Janet Reno, the FBI director, and also his attorney general, either ask for loyalty pledges from them or ask them to not recuse them in cases so that they could control the probe. Imagine what would have happened with heads exploding of Republicans.
And the media landscape was different in the late 90s than it is today. Fox News Channel was not the force that it is now. But Rush Limbaugh was in full froth, and you did have conservative radio, and they would attack the president all the way through. And yes, they would have gone ballistic, as would Republicans in Congress.
Justifiably.
But the difference here is that when Clinton gave that testimony, there was a Republican House and a Republican Senate. And so that they had the power to push back on this president.
But I would like to think, I'm curious your answer. If he tried what Trump tried, I expect the opposition would say, you're trying to stack the deck here and obfuscate justice. But I would think Democrats, many of whom were critical of his personal behavior at the time, would have said, no, you are not above the law. Maybe there'd be a few, but I gotta think the Democrats that I remember at the time would have said, no man is above the law.
I think a lot of them would have, given that this was such a divisive issue. And while there wasn't a desire among the American public to see Clinton kicked out of office, there was certainly a lot of critical assessments from the public about Clinton's behavior.
Sure.
And the fact that he sort of lowered the moral standard for the White House. So yes, I'm sure some Democrats, and look, to be fair, some Democrats I'm sure would have been good soldiers and defended the president, and we saw that in Watergate as well. Republicans in the House committee that would have voted for impeachment, the Republicans that put that over the top didn't come aboard. Didn't come aboard until the very end.
Yep.
More Republicans voted against impeachment on that House committee than voted for it.
All right, Andrew, thank you very much. When we come back, we bring on the legal panel. The Harvey Weinstein case, the court of public opinion certainly has already spoken, and they're convicting Harvey. But this has not wound its way through the legal system yet. With all the media attention and the anger at Weinstein, how will this all shake out? I'll ask the guys their answer to that question.